Let's build heroic challengers! And welcome back to Let's Build, the show where I take a deck or archetype I have never played before and do my best to build it from scratch. I'm Hardleg Joe, if you didn't know, joined as always by my community Twitch chat. Chat, why don't you say something heroic, something to inspire the people to greatness? Hello, YouTube. Something heroic. That's the spirit. They're a pretty great community. In fact, a member of that community is why I'm here today. 1//X has requested this by donating on the Patreon at the $75 tier. I'm not sure it's necessarily worth that, but if you want to Let's Build, that's how you do it. Consider checking that out. And if you just want to join the community, just have fun with these rascally goofballs, you could do that for significantly cheaper. I think the $1 tier gets you on the Discord, so consider checking that out if you like the show. But enough plugs, we're here to do a Let's Build, which if you don't know, is a blind deck building show. I'm just going to be sitting down, looking over all these cards here, talking a little bit with Twitch chat, thumbs up everyone, and we're gonna try to figure out how this deck works. Now as a result, this will not be the best heroic challenger deck, or even necessarily a good heroic deck. But it should teach you how to build decks. That's what this is all about, learning the process so that if you want to build any deck yourself, you have an idea of how to start. And if you're looking to build these in particular, the heroic challengers, this should let you know everything about every card and how good it is so that you have a foundation to build upon. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into it. Alright, so here we are, ready to begin. And as always, when you're learning a new archetype, there's one place to start. Chat, what's the first thing we look at? The field spell! That's right, except there is no field spell. Sound the alarm! There's no field spell! Chaos reigns! Fire and brimstone! Dogs and cats living together! Mass hysteria! That's perfectly fine. Actually, if you know anything about this show, there's usually a step 2 after the field spell. So if there's no field spell, you just go to that, which is to look at the monsters, and specifically the boss monsters of the archetype. In this case, Heroics is an Ixie archetype. All their big monsters are Ixies. So we're gonna start with the strongest of the boss monsters. Number 86, Heroic Champion, Rhongomyniad. The good old Rongo Bongo. Rank 4 warrior monster, 1500 attack, 1500 defense. Can be made with 2 or more level 4 warrior monsters. You can use up to 5. And once per turn, during your opponent's end phase, detach 1 material from this card. Also, this card gains effects based on the number of materials attached to it. 1 cannot be destroyed by battle. 2 gains 1500 attack and defense, so it becomes 3000 both ways. 3 unaffected by other cards' effects. 4 your opponent cannot normal or special summon monsters. And 5 once per turn, you can destroy all cards your opponent controls. This thing is an absolute beast, one of the strongest boss monsters ever printed. Mostly because it's immune to everything. This with 4 materials is unaffected by any card effect, and your opponent can't summon. Which means not only can they not summon something bigger than this to just try to run it over by battle, but they can't even kaiju it. They can't lava golem it or sphere mode it, because they can't summon monsters, even if it would be to the opponent's side of the field. Famously, this thing has been used in just about every deck except for heroic challengers. These historically don't have a really good chance of summoning it. Which is why, I mean, this card has been around for a long time and never really saw a whole lot of play, simply because getting 4 level 4 warriors out wasn't the easiest thing in the world to do. And even if you did, it would detach at the end phase. A lot of decks have found ways to cheese this where either they don't have to detach, or they get like 7 materials on it in very cheeky ways, and then they get like 4 turns of your opponent cannot play to just you know, win the game outright. That being said, I polled chat beforehand. I asked them, what did you want to do with this? Do you want to try to build heroics and use these other cards, or do you want to make Rhongomyniad Turbo? And they said, let's go for the Rongo Bongo. If any deck has the right to play it, it should be this. So we've already determined our win condition. We'll go ahead and read these so we know what other tools we have, but keep in mind with everything we're doing, this is what we're going to end on. Rongo is the boss monster of the archetype. Okay, moving on to their other most well-known extra deck, we have Heroic Champion Excalibur. This is 2 level 4 warriors, has 2,000 attack and defense, and once per turn you can detach 2, and this card's attack becomes double until the end of your opponent's turn. So basically just a big 4,000 beater, big man hit hard for just 2 warrior monsters. Pretty easy, so I'll play in a lot of warrior decks, and we'll probably run at least one of them. I mean, that's the thing with all, we're going to run at least one of all of these. I'm not sure if we need to run more than one Rongo because, you know, if your Rongo gets outed, you're just dead. You're not going to make another one. Moving on to their cards I don't know, we have Heroic Champion Gandiva, or Gandiva, which I'm looking at this art here. That's not how you hold a bow and arrow, right? Like, they should be grasping it, not like this, unless the bow's attached to their arm? Is that a thing? Does that happen a lot? People who know about historical weapons, let me know. That seems like they kind of messed up there. But anyway, it's another rank 4 with 2,100 attack, 1,800 defense, 2 level 4 warriors again, and once per turn, when a level 4 or lower monster is special summoned to the opponent's side of the field, except during the damage step, you can detach 1 material from this card, destroy that special summoned monster. Alright, so it's just non-targeting destroy. When a card is summoned, destroy. Again, definitely worth playing, something you want to put in, especially if you go first and you can't make Rongo. This can be at least a little bit of disruption. Not sure if it's like worth playing more than one of, but it's decent. Next up, we have Heroic Champion Clavicolish. Clavicolish? That's kind of weird. This is one of the newer cards, I'm pretty sure. The art looks shinier, and he's got a weird, like, metal dick thing going on here. I don't know about that. BV, you may want to censor that if you can. This is another rank 4, 2,500 attack this time, also 2 level 4s. Your opponent cannot target monsters for attack, except this one. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. You can pay life points so that you only have 500 left. At the start of the battle phase this turn, double the attack of 1 monster you control. When an attack is declared involving your opponent's monster, you can detach 1 material from this card, then target 1 monster your opponent controls. This card gains attack equal to that monster's attack until the end of the turn. Wow, that is, talk about riding on the edge of forever. Just pay until you have 500 left. It's kind of like Dinomorphia, except I don't think they have any way to protect them if they're just down that low. Either way, OTK machine. It's honest and it doubles its attack. I believe. Let me double check and make sure how that works, right? Okay, so at the start of the battle phase, you can double the attack of any monster you control. And then when an attack is declared, this can gain the attack of whatever monster it's battling into. So it can double itself, which could OTK, or you could like double this to 8,000 and attack over whatever with this. I mean, this is always winning the battle because it's gaining the attack of whatever it fights. So you've got like a clear OTK, as long as you're willing to pay until you have 500 left. That's interesting. I'm not sure how the rulings work. If you have like 500 life points, can you activate this effect? Does paying until you have 500 left work when you pay 0? Chat is saying you do have to pay at least 1 life point. You have to have 501 life points to activate this effect. So I'll trust chat and assume that basically this is going to be a once per duel unless one of these cards gains you life points somehow, which doesn't seem likely, but I guess we'll see. Moving on, we've got another rank 4, Heroic Champion Kusanagi. A little bit easier. This one's art is weird. There's a lot of negative space. It feels like maybe it should be centered, but it's like centered on his arm, and there's just like Nothing going on here. It's very, very plain looking. But this is another 2,500. This takes 3 level 4 monsters, so it's a little bit difficult to summon. Once per turn, during either player's turn, when a trap is activated, you can detach, negate the activation, destroy it, and if you do, this card gains 500. Ugh, that's... The amount of effort you're putting in for this to make a 3... Like, if you have 3 level 4s, you could have an unaffected Rhongomyniad. Unless you're going up against specifically a trap deck, and you also know that, like, this isn't going to last very long, I don't think you'd ever want to make this. We'll keep it in here at 1 just in case, but, if anything needs to be cut, this is the first thing that goes. And finally, we have another new card, the only non-rank 4. They've got a rank 1, Heroic Champion Rhongomyniad. Rhongomyniad? Rhongomyniad. That's fun to say. It rolls off the tongue a little bit. He's doing the big bro fist. Only 700 attack, 1800 defense, so probably want to summon it in defense mode. 2 level 1 warrior monsters. The first time each warrior monster you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect each turn, it is not destroyed. You can only use each of the following effects of this card once per turn. You can detach 2 materials from this card, target 1 level or rank 4 warrior in your graveyard, special summon it, and if you do, this card gains attack equal to that monster's original attack. When an attack is declared involving your opponent's monster, you can gain life points equal to half its attack. Alright, so this is how you gain life points. This thing allows you to use the things multiple times. Although, honestly, the way this is looking, it's like an OTK deck. Like, if you have to use this to gain life points, you're not in a good position anyway. You don't want your opponent's monsters to be attacking. But I guess it is good to have a backup just in case. Not sure how easy it is to make level 1s. It gains the attack, so what's the most attack it could get? 25 plus 700, and then I guess you could double it. I assume none of these level 4s have more than that. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. So we got a pretty good collection of extra deck monsters here, and it's kind of weird how clearly the best 2 are Excalibur and this guy, who are just going to let you OTK instantly. Like, these by themselves can just, like, you know, win the game. Which makes you think you want to go second, because while they do have some go first tools, these are pretty weak. It's like negate a trap, destroy 1 special summoned monster, gain attack points. Like, none of these are really going to win you the game if you make them going first. They're more like backup plans. And then they have Rhongomyniad, who's like, if you go first, you literally just win the game. Your opponent cannot play the game if you summon this with like 5 materials. It's absolutely unstoppable. So we're gonna go first, but it's nice to know that we essentially have like one of the best go first options in the game, and if that doesn't work, we can OTK the fuck out of people with these 2. You know, 4 level 4 warriors is either going to make this or both of these, which will kill your opponent in half. So from here, let's start looking at some monsters. We want to be able to make these Ixies, and we're going to need other monsters to do that, so that's the best place to start. Sometimes you want to look at spells, and I know they have some pretty powerful ones, but I think we'll start here, and we're going to start with the highest level one, even though this is a level 6, and I can't imagine it would be good in this deck full of rank 4s, but we'll see. We've got Heroic Challenger Warhammer. Oh, 40k reference. Let's get some orcs in the chat. Warrior with 2100 attack. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can equip this destroyed monster to this card. You can only equip 1 monster at a time to this card, and it gains attack equal to the equipped monster's attack. Let's just delete that. That's not going to be useful. We're not going to be playing that. It doesn't help us make our Ixies. It doesn't help us do anything. It's like its own need. It's just Truckroid. If you want to play that, play Truckroid Turbo. It's more consistent and more fun. It can equip more than 1 monster to it, and they have like equips of their own. Go check that out. Moving on, we've got Heroic Challenger Sword Shield. Is it a sword? Is it a shield? Why not both? It's a level 4 warrior with 0 attack, 2000 defense. So I guess it's a shield. I guess that's the answer, because it has 0 attack, so that ain't no sword that's doing anything over here. And during either player's turn, if you control a face-up heroic monster, you can send this from your hand to the graveyard. For the rest of the turn, you take no battle damage, and heroic monsters cannot be destroyed by battle. Wow, this is outdated. This is from an age when, in order to make a rank 4, in order to get 2 monsters on the field, you would sometimes need to wait a turn. You would need to summon a level 4 monster, and then use this to protect it for a turn, so that next turn you could normal summon another level 4, and maybe make Excalibur. These days, this ain't cutting it. I'm gonna say that we're not playing that, because it does not sound useful in the slightest. Next up on the chopping block, we have Heroic Challenger Extra Sword. He's got an extra sword. There's 2 of them. Also, this is another card that's like, I feel like this should be zoomed in a little bit more. He should take up more, but I guess if you did, you wouldn't be able to see the swords. And then the background is just like this weird kind of greenish swirly mush. You know, there's like moss growing, because he's an old card, I guess. But yeah, level 4 warrior, 1,000 attack and defense. It's so weird to see a card that just has so little text here. It blows my mind. It's like, what? There's not a novel here? This isn't a Yu-Gi-Oh card, this is like a Pokemon card. An Ixie monster summoned using this card as material gains this effect. It gains 1,000 attack. Alright, simple, clean. If we have a way to special summon this, if we need a way, if we need like level 4s we can put on to summon some of these other ones, this might be worth playing. Because I mean, you know, Excalibur going up to 5,000. Rhongomyniad starting with 25 and then gaining 15 might be worth it. We'll keep it as a maybe. It's definitely not a 3 of yet, but we'll see. We'll see. Going on next, we have Heroic Challenger Night Watchman. All right, another level 4 warrior, 1,200 attack. If this card attacks a defense position monster your opponent controls before damage calculation, you can destroy that monster. Let's just get rid of that. If Shadal's ever come back in style, if we ever get a strong flip monster deck, maybe consider running that. Otherwise, I would not bother. That is very old, very outdated. People in chat are like, it's just Drillroid, but worse. Yeah, kind of. All right, moving on. Here's a card I actually know. Heroic Challenger, 1,000 Blade. Just look at him. No, go back. Although, I mean, I'm not going to accuse him of exaggerating. This is a lot of blades. I don't think it's 1,000. I'm not sure if anyone's actually counted, but it doesn't even look like it's close to 100. There may be a little bit of hyperbole going on here, but it's fine. We'll allow it. He's warrior level 4, 1,300 attack. Once per turn, if this card is in attack position, you can discard 1 heroic card, special summon 1 heroic monster from your deck. And if you do, change this card to defense position. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn, except heroic monsters. When you take damage while this is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card in attack position. You can only use this effect once per turn. Alright, so it is kind of limiting. Is it for the rest of this turn or during this turn? Let me double check this again. You cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn. So as long as this is like the last thing you do, if you have other heroics, this is fine. Not the greatest. You do have to run a whole lot of heroics to make this work. And I'm not sure so far, no other heroic has an effect in the graveyard, so you don't really want to discard them. But so far, this is the only thing that like lets you make a rank 4. You know, this plus any heroic in hand is a rank 4. And it fetches stuff out of the deck. So if you want to play your 1 of extra sword, there you go. That first effect is also a soft once per turn. So if you do somehow manage to get 2 of these on the field, you can do some stuff. I'm not sure how you do that. I guess we'll see. Ironically, this card was mostly known for the graveyard effect previously. The fact that it could keep coming back each turn. But again, that dates back to an older format where you could wait a turn to get a rank 4, and not like this format where it's, you know, make this first turn or make this second turn. Waiting until you take battle damage to summon a monster, I mean, it's good, it's a nice backup, but that's not really why we're playing this. Alright, moving on to the first of the newer cards from the main deck. This was not in the original run. Heroic Challenger Morning Star. And look they found a way to do the art better, right? Like, they've actually got it so that the Morning Star curves. You can get the whole body in here. There's not a whole lot of weird negative space. And what negative space there is, it's like kind of shooting out from him, you know? So that it brings emphasis to him rushing forward. There's a better artist here. Anyway, level 4, 1500 attack. If you control 2 or more warriors, you can special summon this from your hand. Alright, let's just go ahead and put 3 of those in there right now, because that alone is better than most of the other stuff on here. Also, if you get this with this, that's just like, that's 3 monsters right there. But let's read the rest of it just in case. If this card is normal or special summon, add 1 heroic spell trap from your deck to your hand. Alright, can we add more than 3? Can we put 4 of this in here? I don't know what the heroic cards do yet, but we've got something that pluses on summon. This is a Stratos. This is it's so weird to see the old card design compared to this, because this is just so much better. Alright. Also, if this card is in your graveyard and your life points are 500 or less, you can special summon this card but negate its effects. You can only use each effect once per turn. Okay, so that's a little bit of a neat thing. And basically, if you use this, you go pay down to 500, and if you don't OTK, if it fails, you can get a free level 4 back. Presumably, you'll have this detaching it from whatever, and then you'll just have it. It doesn't search because its effects are negated when it's summoned back. But this combined with like the 1,000 blades, if you took some damage, maybe you can make one of these to like protect yourself on the follow-up. So again, it manages to have that nice protection style that you see in 1,000 blades, a follow-up if the OTK fails, while also just being an amazing like enabler that combos into the deck. Alright, next up, we're going back to the old cards. Heroic Challenger Spartan. Got the shield, he's ready, he's going. 1600 attack, level 4. Once per turn, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can target 1 face-up heroic monster you control, except this card. This card gains attack equal to that face-up monster's original attack until the end of the battle phase. So let me get this straight. If I have this card on the field and another heroic, and my opponent declares an attack, this can gain attack. If I had 2 heroics on the field, why would I not turn it into this? It has higher attack and it can stop stuff. I cannot think of a reason why you would have this and something else on the field when your opponent declares an attack. If this was like when an attack was declared, if you could use it on your turn to do extra damage, I could see it. But yeah, I think we're gonna pass that one out as well. Moving on, Heroic Challenger Double Lance. He's got 2 lances, baby. 1700 attack. Those lances gave him quite a bit of battle prowess. When this card is normal summoned, you can special summon 1 Heroic Challenge Double Lance from your hand or graveyard in defense position. Man, these days that would say deck, you know? It would probably lock you into like warriors or ixies or heroics or whatever. But man, a card that you have to either draw 2 of or have one already in the graveyard, at least it does something, but that's kind of a steep cost. Oh, this card cannot be used as synchro material, cannot be used as an ixie except for the ixie summon of a warrior type monster. So the rest is just restrictions. Alright, this is a hard maybe. I'm putting this in the side deck. If we're really down on names, maybe we'll play this. If there's a way to search out really quick, because I mean this might, you know, you get 1,000 blades. You can oh, it's only when it's normal summoned. Never mind. God, I can't even think of a combo. It's like a Nombo with 1,000 blades. You can't special summon it. You can't do it. Maybe with Morning. If you get this and you have another one in hand along with Morning Star, that's not great. Alright, moving on. Heroic Challenger Assault Halberd. Now this guy, he's an older one, but he also checks out. First of all, that pose. Absolutely dominating. Just like, yeah, what of it? Bring it on. Also 1800 attack on a level 4, so just decent on his own. If your opponent controls a monster and you control no monsters, you can special summon this from your hand. If this attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing damage. When this card inflicts battle damage, add a heroic card from your deck to your hand. Alright, so this is especially good if you want the OTK version. Just the fact that, you know, if you control no monsters, you can special summon this. That would be great. The fact that we're going first, I'm not sure. I mean, if we do just need more names, this is the best name. You know, you want to play this over everything else. It's great going second. It has high attack. It can search if it battles and it has enough attack to make battle worth it. I'm gonna tentatively put it at 3, and we'll see. We'll see. Maybe we get rid of it. Maybe we don't. Only time will tell. And it looks like the rest of our heroic challengers are level 1, which does not bode well because our level 1 is not something we want to make. I mean, if we get it, it does allow us to like special summon a level 4 out, so free stuff, although we only have one card that discards, so not great. But let's check them out. This is Heroic Challenger Ambush Soldier. This is like the opposite of Halberd. Halberd's like bring it, and this guy's like, hold on now, I don't want to cut you, but I will. I've gotta, somehow, why does a man with a sword have 0 attack? He's not gonna use that sword. He's so cowardly that he has 0 attack. Alright, during the standby phase, you contribute this card. Okay, let's just delete this here. Let's just not play this because unless one of these spells is like, you know, during the draw phase, summon this. I don't think this is gonna work. We'll finish reading it just in case, but that should already tell you everything you need to know about this. Tribute this card, special summon 2 heroic challengers from your hand or graveyard. Doesn't even summon from the deck. You have to put this on the field and have it survive until the next turn. I guess that's what the shield sword is for, although it has to be in attack mode, so you know you've got a challenger, and it's 0 attack, so you've taken a lot of damage, let me tell you. You can only use the effect of this card once per turn. When you do, you can banish this card from your graveyard, make all heroic challenger monsters you currently control become level 1. Okay, that doesn't save it, and it's not good, and we don't want to play it. Get that shit out of here. Let's look at another level 1. Maybe this will be a little better. He's got a bigger sword. He's got 300 attack. Weird to think with someone with this big of a sword could have so little attack. Heroic Challenger Clasp Sword. Firmly grasp it! When this card is special summoned by the effect of a Heroic Challenger, add 1 Heroic Challenger from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. Alright, let's look back at Thousand Blades. This can summon any heroic from the deck. So I guess if you get this off of Thousand Blades, it does search something. If there's something we can search, if this monster like special summons and makes everything 4s, maybe it will be worth it to run it at 1. And you only want to special summon it from the deck. But probably not. Let's look at this last one. Another newer card, Heroic Challenger Knuckle Sword. This one has 600 attack, doing twice as good as the previous one. If you control a heroic monster, except a level 1 monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can target one other warrior you control with a level. The level of that monster or this card becomes the level of the other. Also, you cannot declare an attack with the rest of the turn, except for Ixie monsters. Alright! So a little touch and go there for a second, but that's definitely another 3 of. This is basically, if you have a heroic, you special summon it, and then you can either make that monster level 1, or you can make this monster level 4. Locks you into only attacking with Ixies, that's fine, it's all we're going to do this turn. It's just an extra monster that comes out and gets stuff. And it's weird that they said except a level 1 monster, because that specifically is going to say that, like, no, you don't want to summon this off of Clasp Sword. Well, I guess maybe you might, because you can, no. Yeah, so they specifically made it a Nombo with Clasp Sword. You can't use this to make anything level 4. So, yeah, get that out of here. We're on very limited monsters. We may have to end up running some extra swords, or maybe even double lance. I don't know. After we're done reading all the archetype cards, we're definitely like typing in warrior level 4 and reading over everything to see what we can get. But first though, let's go over the spells, see what we've got here. Starting with one of their new spells, Heroic Call. Special summon one warrior monster from your hand or graveyard. But if you special summon a non-heroic monster, negate its effects, also it cannot attack. If your life points are 500 or less, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target a monster you control, it gains 500 for each heroic card you currently control, and each heroic card attached to Ixie monsters you currently control. You can only activate one copy of this card per turn. Alright, so this is free extension. Just summon anything from the hand or graveyard. Kind of sucks that it doesn't search, doesn't get from the deck or whatever, but that means whatever you discard off of Thousand Blades comes back. If you just need 2 cards for Morning Star, you can summon it. And it's again got that thing where if you've attacked and your life points are 500 but you missed, then the next turn you can use this to OTK again, because whatever you still have left, you could just give it like all the attack. It's 500 for every heroic monster, so you're probably looking at least 2,000, maybe even more. So I'll tentatively say this is a 3 of. Pretty nice in general. And in fact, let me think about this for a second. This can summon this, but it only gets the effect if summoned by a heroic challenger monster, so never mind. Doesn't do anything if it's summoned by Heroic Call. Okay, Heroic Chance. Will they have a chance? Also, who's this guy? Were heroics used in the anime? I never watched the anime, but I've read a lot of Wikipedia articles. I don't recognize this guy. Target one heroic monster you control. This turn, double its attack, but it cannot attack your opponent directly. So close to greatness, and yet so far. I mean, we can search this out with Morning Star if our opponent has something on the field. Someone pointed out earlier that the thing about this is its attack becomes double its original. So I don't know if that means, can you, like, if this becomes 4,000, can you then double it? I don't actually know. Maybe you can use this to OTK on opponent's monsters. I'll tentatively have it be a 1-of because it's searchable, but you probably don't want to play that. Okay, next up we have Heroic Envoy, showing Superman coming in here with very realistic looking fist here. Add one heroic monster from your deck to your hand. Alrighty, 1 second, that's all I needed to hear. Where's Heroic Envoy? Let's just add 2 more of those in. We found our Rhoda. And in fact, we're gonna play Rhoda in this too, because these are all warriors. But yeah, it doesn't matter what the rest of this says, unless it, like, you can't attack this turn. There's no reason to not play this at 3. It searches out every card in the deck. If your life points are 500 or less, you can banish this from the card, target one heroic in your graveyard, add it to your hand. Alright, so it's got the recovery if you're under 500. Again, it's neat to see that this is the theme, that the comeback ability was built into it, but it's really kind of disheartening to be like, to have an entire archetype whose gimmick is if we fail, we come back. I would rather have an archetype whose gimmick is we don't fail. Like, we're just good and we win, and not have all these backups like, okay, I'm gonna pay until I have 500, but and hopefully I'll OTK you. But if that doesn't work, I get to special summon a card and add this back to hand, and summon add a whole bunch of attack to monsters and stuff. It's neat, but it's not what I really want to see out of an archetype. And that's all the spells. Pretty nice though. We've got this little thing where this guy searches the spell and the spell searches this guy, so you get a little loop going and everything. We've got some traps. We are making a go first build, so potentially these could actually be useful. I can't imagine they would be if you didn't have Rhongomyniad Turbo. But we'll see. Heroic Advance. Ooh. When a face-up heroic monster is targeted for an attack, target another face-up level 4 or lower heroic you control, double its attack during this battle phase, then switch the attack target to it, and conduct battle damage, but monsters cannot be destroyed by this battle. This is another card that, like, it specifically has to do with level 4 or lower heroics. This is another card that assumes I'm going to be leaving 2 heroic monsters on the field and not Ixie summon with them during my opponent's turn. I'm not sure why the hell I would ever play this. Next trap, we have Heroic Gift. If your opponent's life points are 2,000 or less, make their life points 8,000, and if you do, draw 2 cards. The fuck is this? What kind of, why would I do that? I mean, I guess drawing cards is good, but it's not that good. It's not bring your opponent back from the brink of death. I mean, I guess in the very odd specific situation where, like, you've hit your opponent down to 2,000, but they've managed to completely clear your board and they have like 2 cards, maybe this would be good. But wow, this has to be like the worst card that says draw 2 on it in the game. Holy fuck. That is just awful. Not playing that one. I'd really hope that they had something that was like, if your life points are 500 or less, draw 2 cards. Because that would be pretty neat. And, you know, because again, this card just drops you down to 500. But they don't appear to have that. Alright, last trap. Heroic Retribution Sword. Target 1 face-up heroic monster you control. Equip this card to that target. All battle damage you take from battles involving the equipped monster is also inflicted to your opponent. After damage calculation, destroy any opponent's monster that battled the equipped monster. Alright, so again, this is that early 2011 like deck building. We had talked about how, you know, back then you couldn't necessarily summon 2 level 4s in a turn. That was kind of difficult, so sometimes what you do is summon like an 1800 and protect it for a turn so that next turn you could normal summon again. And this kind of does that in like the worst way possible. They could have made this like a safe zone that just says like, you know, the monsters can't be destroyed. But no, they're like, your opponent takes the battle damage too, and they're destroyed at the end phase. So it's high cost for them to do it, but they can still do it. And it's probably worth it if it keeps you from making something like Excalibur or Rhongomyniad or whatever. It's just been power crept to hell. And with that, we've gotten every heroic card read, and there's still quite a bit. We've only got half the deck. And honestly, again, with our win condition, wanting to go into Rhongomyniad on the first turn, I think all we really want to do is look through level 4 warrior monsters that can be special summoned. So here's what we're going to do. I'll show you how to do this here. We're going to go ahead. This is the monster type. We can pick warrior. We go to level. We're going to do 4, apply. And the first thing I usually do when I'm looking for like free special summons is I type parentheses from your hand. And this will give you every card that has the built-in summoning condition of, you know, must be special summoned from your hand. This is a great way to narrow it down to just all the free extenders. And then after that, you'd probably want to type like special summon this card. And then see what you can get from the monsters in here. Weird that they're including traps. I guess these traps are technically warrior type monsters. Actually, Shade Brigandine might not be a bad. But yeah, I'm not going to make you watch as I read over every single card in here. I'll do that on my own, and I'll come back with some of the cool ones that I find. At least that's what's going to happen on YouTube. If you're here in the Twitch chat, you're going to sit here while I read through all these cards. Alright, so we've searched through the level 4 warriors using the parameters I set out. We found quite a few things. I'll go over those in a moment, but people in chat are mentioning a card that I've known about for a while that is kind of a staple in decks like this. Gob Lindbergh, level 4 warrior, earth. When this is normal summoned, you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower monster from the hand. Now the interesting thing I want to point out about this is that using the 2 things that I did, the 2 things that I typed in up here, this didn't come up. Which means there are other monsters that didn't show up in our searches. So if you find yourself in this situation where you know of a card that does something you want, one good thing to do is like look at this and then look at the text it has. You can special summon one level 4 from your hand. And then try typing like you can special... Oops, it would help if I typed right. Type in just like you can special summon 1. And we're still on the, the level 4 warriors, but we're getting some new results. So that can be a good way, again, when you're trying to deck build, trying to learn how to find cards, especially if you have a database like this up here, or something like Dueling Book, which also has these kind of resources. This can help you discover cards that maybe you were unaware of. I think Master Duel also has searching tools, but they're not quite as robust as this. You can't type in phrases like this and have it turn up stuff that has that exact wording. But yeah, we found another couple pages worth of things to look at. So I'll be back once again, 1 second. Alright, so after reading over a whole bunch of warriors, this is what we've come up with so far. We of course got Goblinberg, level 4, Earth Warrior, just a nice guy in general. Special summons a monster out of the hand, great way to get 2, so you get at least a rank 4 on the field. And then we also found War Rock Gakdos. This is if an Earth Warrior monster is normal summoned, you can special summon this from your hand. It does other stuff, not important. The important part is just it's a level 4 warrior, and when you look at all the heroic challengers, they're all Earth Warriors. Every one of them, and so is Goblinberg. So basically this says, if you normal summon any of these fuckers, you get a free Gakdos. And when we're just trying to get as many monsters on the field as possible for Rongo, I think that's probably the way to go. Unfortunately, there weren't a whole lot of Earth things. We found some other cards that might have worked, that we maybe talk about. I mean, Super Agent is kind of a gamble, but could be a special summon. But instead I went with the guaranteed special summons. We've got Photon Thrasher. This is basically like Assault Halberd, just better. If you control no monsters, you can special summon this. It's just a level 4 warrior. And then Phantom Knights of Shade Brigandine. Special summon this in defense position as a normal monster, and it's a level 4 dark. And if you have no traps in the graveyard, you can activate this the turn it's set. So going first, you set this, you immediately activate it, you just get a level 4. Okay, so from here, we've got quite a few monsters. We've got more than enough to spam 4 onto the field and search them and get a whole bunch of stuff. The big problem is just going to be getting to that. What we need is some consistency tools. So for starters, you can play 1 Reinforcements of the Army, and you should, because it searches every monster in the deck. After that, I think what we actually want to do is Pot of Desires. If you're unfamiliar with this card, banish 10 cards from the top of your deck, draw 2, you can only activate 1 per turn. So this is basically Pot of Greed, and the only downside is that it banishes cards from your deck. Now in many decks where you have like 1 of cards that you want to search, or key playmakers that you need to find over the course of a turn or 2, this can be bad because you're getting rid of stuff in the deck that you might want to see later. But in the case of this deck, everything's at 3, and everything is pretty much just a level 4 warrior that summons itself to the field. It doesn't matter if we banish every copy of this, because all we're looking is more cards in hand. If we can get 4 monsters in hand, we're usually going to be able to find a way to special summon them and then make Rhongomyniad. So you can't go wrong with that. And then from there, let's just go ahead and add the other best draw card in the deck, Max C. This helps guarantee if we do go second, we're going to be able to just win the game outright. It's the Max C tax. If you can play it, you might as well. Now, normally, along with that, you play stuff like Ash and Called By, and, maybe Called By isn't bad. We have enough stuff. We really don't want this to get, like, ashed. We don't want our other stuff to get ashed. But we really don't mind if they Max C us. We don't need an Ash to stop them. Because even though they're going to draw 5 cards, we're going to make Rongo, and none of those 5 cards will help them. They're not going to be able to do anything with any of those 5 cards. And that gives us 41 cards. We're probably going to have to cut one of these down. Maybe just like Photon Thrasher, maybe a Shade Brigandine too. This doesn't really super do anything. Because actually I'm thinking there is one more card we could put in here that would be funny. It would help us win the game, but it's also a bit of a win more card. Fuck it. Let's try. Let's take out this one of Heroic Chance. Because again, we're going all in on just trying to make Rongo turbo. In which case, a good card to do is Sales Ban. This is a funny little card that came out recently. Kind of a neat tech that doesn't see as much play, mostly because Master Duel doesn't hit any of the big staple cards. Why would you run this when Maxi and Ash are all legal and everything? Declare one card name. For the rest of this turn, your opponent cannot activate cards or the effects of cards with the same original name as that declared card. That same restriction applies to you, but for the rest of the duel instead of just this turn. You can only activate one per turn. So the neat thing about this is that if you want to, if you're feeling really unsure about your plays, if you think they have Ash and they'll stop you and that would just end you, you can activate this and call Ash. And for the rest of the turn, they can't activate Ash. You can't activate it for the rest of the duel, but that doesn't matter because you're not playing Ash. You can also use this if you sniff out that they have a Nibiru or any other like hand trap that you're worried about, really. It's always kind of a gamble, especially in best of one, because you have no idea what your opponent could be playing. This always struck me as a really good side deck card, which we don't have in Master Duel, which is why it hasn't seen a whole lot of play. But it has extra utility here with Rhongomyniad, because Rongo only has one effect that activates, which is during your opponent's end phase, you detach one material from it. And even though Rongo is unaffected by card effects, this doesn't say that monster like can't activate its effects. It says you, as the player, can't activate the effects of those monsters for the rest of the duel. So if you make a 4-mat Rongo and the last card in your hand is Sales Ban, you can use it and declare Rhongomyniad. And for the rest of the duel, this thing will not discard any or not detach any of its materials, which means you just have an unaffected thing that prevents your opponent from summoning for the rest of the duel. It essentially wins you the duel. So that's what we're going to go for. It's kind of cheesy. This is unsearchable. You essentially have to hope that you draw 4 monsters you can summon along with this, which you might with Pot of Desires and have one card left over, but that's what we're gonna try, and we're gonna hope it works. Now, as for the rest of the extra deck, you can honestly put just about whatever you want in here, a whole bunch of other level 4s. A lot of people are telling me I should play Isolde of the Noble Knights. This is a pretty good card, makes 2 warrior monsters. If it's link summoned, you can add a warrior from your deck to your hand, but for the rest of the turn, you cannot normal summon, set, or special summon monsters with that name, or activate their effects. You can also send any number of equip spells with different names from your deck to the graveyard, special summon a warrior from the deck whose level equal the number of cards sent. This has the potential to be really good in this deck, especially for other builds of it, because you can include some equip spells that would help you out. Maybe some of the Noble Arms will let you special summon or search monsters that could help you go further. The problem, of course, is that we're basically trying to use all our material to go into this. Using 2 monsters to get 1 monster out of the deck isn't particularly useful when none of these are particularly great except for maybe Morningstar, which we have like 3 of, plus 3 ways to search, plus the reinforcements of the army. So we're probably going to get to this anyway. And using this alongside Pot of Desires is a recipe for disaster, because now we're putting 4 equip cards in the deck, and if any of them get banished, we can no longer activate this effect. It might be good just to have it in general, you know, if you need a backup plan, you can add something to your hand you can use later, but I don't think it particularly works for this. And in fact, I don't really think anything else in the extra deck matters, because all we're trying to do is go for that single-minded win condition. Make Rongo, get Sales Banned. So I'm just going to keep it at this. We can add in stuff later. Alright, so what we're going to do from here is test this out. And there's a couple different ways you can do this. Oftentimes, when I have a more complicated deck that's designed around making specific plays and I have to learn all the ins and outs, I'll play against an actual opponent. I'll get a friend or a patron to sit down and we'll test out that way. But in this case, The deck is pretty single-minded. Everything just special summons, and we just want to shit out as many level 4s as possible to get to Rongo. And in that case, I think the best way to test is to just do test hands. You can't do this on Master Duel, but you can do this on Dueling Book. You can do this on Yu-Gi-Oh! Omega, which we're using here. And just see, like, how far we can get without getting interrupted. And then you can just sort of assume, like, okay, what if they had an Ash? What if they stopped this? Could I go further? Could I still do what I do? You can often make a lot of assumptions about how a real duel would play out without necessarily having to sit down with an opponent. So let's see how this works. Has our deck building paid off? Do we have enough level 4s to do what we want to do? Okay. Alright, so we've got a pretty decent starting hand. We want to go ahead and lead with Photon Thrasher, because that's just, if you don't control a monster, you could special summon it. There's one. What does this do again? If you control a heroic, except a level 1, you can special summon. Okay, so we need a heroic there. We've got this. We've also got Heroic Call and Heroic Envoy. So I think what we want to do is use Envoy, and we're going to grab Morningstar, right? Yeah, let's get Morningstar. Then we're going to normal summon Thousand Blades, and we're going to use Thousand Blades effect. We're going to send off the Morningstar, and we're going to summon, I don't know, Assault Halberd? Sure, we'll get Assault Halberd here. That shifts it to defense. Then we've got the Heroic Call. We can use this to bring back the Heroic, if you remember. And when this is summoned, we will search a Heroic card. And we've already got both of the ones we've used. I guess we'll just get the search for next turn. And then finally, because we control a Heroic, we can special summon Knuckle Sword. Get this out. Use its effect. We'll target a level 4. Select a monster to change another monster's level. So I guess we select this. Okay, yeah, it becomes 4. That's a little bit confusing. And there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Rhongomyniad. In all his glory. Our opponent cannot play the game. Congratulations. We did it, chat. They can activate some cards. We're going to have to detach. And I think we gotta go for this one. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, when we had the search, what we should have searched is, or we should have gotten the card that lets us revive a monster. Because we could bring this back and then search Envoy, and that's like a free rank 4 right there. I think we've still got it, though. Let's go ahead. We're gonna make this. Let's go ahead and normal summon. We'll activate this effect again. We'll special summon the Morningstar. We'll use the Morningstar's effect. We'll add the summon from the graveyard. We'll go ahead and activate the summon. We're going to get back the Assault Halberd, because that has 1800. And let's go ahead. Clavis, I think? Or is this just 4, 5, 6, 7? Yeah. We just make Assault Halberd. Or Excalibur, sorry. Just go for Excalibur. Detach 2? Sure. 4,000. Battle phase. And there you go. It's that simple, chat. You don't need anything else. We'll just go in, and then, you know, if this wasn't game, this would get us a search, because it inflicted battle damage. Very easy OTK. Now, granted, if they had, like, ashed us or something at some point, maybe they could have stopped one of those monsters from coming out, but I think we still would have gotten 4. I don't know. The real trick here, right? If you're testing a deck, you don't want to go off of one test hand. You've got to run many, many test hands. Oftentimes with a deck like this, where it's entirely contingent on doing the one play, you want to run like 10 or 20, 30 of them, and look at how many times, like write down how many times you got the combo and how many you didn't. So in fact, you know, let's go ahead and do this. Let me get a thing up here. We'll put it on screen. We won't show all of these, but we're just going to run through 10 attempts and see how many times out of 10 we get the combo. Attempt number 2. Alright, we're going to special summon this. We're going to... I think we want a normal... Wait, if we get 2 warriors... This adds a heroic. Okay. We're gonna grab... 1,000 Blades. It has to discard a heroic card. That sucks. Okay. We'll still get 1,000 Blades. We'll normal summon him. We'll activate this. Special summon it because we control 2 warriors. Activate. Grab the thing that lets us summon from the graveyard. And then we go ahead. You want to try to empty your deck as much as possible before you activate something like Pot of Desires. Just in case, like, you know, you don't want to lose all of these. We drew one. And always make sure you check what you've banished beforehand. Make sure you're not missing any tools. Like, it's good to know that both our called buys are gone. I don't think it's particularly important, but it's good to know. Let's see. We need specifically a thing. Oh, this can discard any heroic card. Okay. Alright. Okay. Alright, okay. So, we'll get this. We'll go ahead and set. Ah, okay. So for all my talk of how to do things right, I missed something. When you use 1,000 Blades, you're locked into heroics for the rest of this turn. So I should have activated the Shade Brigandine first, and then done the 1,000 Blades. That would have gotten me to the 5-mat Rongo. I mean, fortunately, we could still make a 4-mat Rongo, which is good enough. Because again, the main effect is you want your opponent to not be able to summon this turn, so you can OTK them next turn. And this will do that. And it'll also still be unaffected even after we detach during their turn. And then next turn we can... Well, oh yeah, we can bring back whatever we want. Or here, I'll just go ahead and show it real quick. I didn't want to necessarily show the follow-up OTK every single time. But this is only the second duel, so... Yeah, during the end phase, we'll detach, and let's detach Morningstar. So now we're no longer locked. They can Jar of Greed, because this AI is not the most popular, or not the most intelligent. Go ahead and summon that. We'll Heroic Call. We'll bring back this. We'll use that effect. We'll get the last Heroic Call. Unfortunately, this is only once per turn, and we've banished our other ones. But we still haven't normal summoned. So we can get this. Must be special summoned using its effect. Alright, so it doesn't really matter what we get. Could just be, like, literally anything. I guess we'll just get another 1,000 Blades. Oh, wait, no! We still have our Heroic card to discard. We could just, you know, if you want to play 2 Rhongomyniads, here's your chance. You can play 2 Rongos. But yeah, either way, this is the exact same OTK setup we had last time. Actually, we have an extra card now. So, you know, this is way, way more than 8,000 attack. And who knows, I'm not even like... I completely forgot what this does. Maybe we can OTK even easier without having to get all these. But, yeah. I consider that a success. Ah! The fabled brick. This is what you're worried about. Ironically, it's like most decks, when you see this, you're super happy because you're like, ah, I can resolve my desires and I don't have to worry about Ash. But in this case, we got both of them and the sales ban, and I'm not sure if we can really OTK from this position. We'll have to look at it. We've got... Okay, so let's start. We can normal summon the Morningstar. We can activate the effect, and we can special summon Goktos because he's just free. We get this. We can grab Heroic Envoy. If we search, we could search this out, but we already have it. We have no way to get cards into the graveyard. I think we might... Wait, we haven't used this effect yet. 1 second. Let's use Envoy. Let's grab this. I should have checked to make sure. I can special summon this because I control 2 or more. And then we can use this, summon this, activate, yeah, we'll target this, they both become 4. This allows us to make the Rhongomyniad with the 4 materials. And then we activate Sales Band, number 86. Oh, there we go, okay. Yes. And there we go. We didn't quite get, like, you know, as much as we wanted. We won't be able to OTK next turn, but it doesn't matter, because we've won the game. Our opponent cannot summon cards, and this is unaffected. And it'll never not be unaffected, because it will never detach. The game is just over. So, yeah, we managed to do it even when we open with 2 bricks. 2.5 bricks. You don't even need the full, like, 9 cards in order to get this. The opponent has courage. They have death is what they have. Okay, attempt number 5. We've got no searches this time, so we just gotta activate this. Alright, so this hand was a little wonky. We did actually have the ability to make it if I normal summoned the Gakdos first and then special summoned this guy using the Heroic Call. We could have, when it was summoned, turned it level 4 because it's any warrior. Then we could have gotten the Shade Brigandine. We could have made a 3-mat. It's still unaffected, but our opponent can summon. So, you know what? We'll go ahead. We're gonna count this as we didn't make it. We've got 1 out of 5 so far where we weren't able to make the 4-mat Rongo. Okay, last attempt. This is a tricky one, I think. Oh, wait. Okay, yeah, we've never actually run into this situation before, but it's good to know. You know, if we ever find ourselves in this situation. This guy can go up to 5,000, and 5 plus 3 is 8,000, so you don't even need to get 3 extra monsters on board to OTK. If you've got the 4-mat Rongo and you can get 2 warriors on next time, you just win! You just win! It's as easy as 1-2 pie. And we'll go ahead looking, I'll hit the rematch, but yeah, looking at our score over here, 9 out of 10 times we were able to hit this. Maybe we got exceptionally lucky, maybe if we went up to like 20 attempts, it would slowly go down and you'd see that it's more like 80%. But 90% right off the bat is a pretty high rate. Now keep in mind again, we're playing against someone with no disruption, and we were kind of thinking about, you know, what if they had Ash and Imperm? What if they had Ash on this specific hand? There are a lot of hands that are hit by it, so maybe you want to put in a cross out and some other hand traps, maybe you want to have other stuff. There is a chance, this isn't as consistent as it appears just from this. But the fact that it can do it on an open board means that all you really need to worry about is stopping those things, winning those die rolls, making sure that when you do go second, you have other things to do. And as you saw by some of the things, it's like, well, we can make a 5,000 that honest itself and a 4,000. Being able to summon 5 monsters on the field and make this also puts you in the position to make this along with Excalibur, and that by itself is an OTK. And maybe there's other stuff you could do in here too. Again, we didn't even look at the other rank 4s. We didn't really need to. And that's kind of the unfortunate things about this, is like, you know, there's a lot of decks that seem really fun, that have a neat play style, and unfortunately, because they have one optimal thing they can do that is just so much better than every other play style, it kind of warps the entire deck. Gem Knights is like that too. I used to really love Gem Knights. They were a toolbox, and now they can do a burn FTK, and that's really the only way to play that deck, is to just summon enough times to do like 8,000 points of burn damage. Maybe you'll attack them for enough, who knows. But either way, I'm pretty happy with what we've got here. As I said at the beginning, may not be the best heroic challenger deck, and I'm not sure how expensive this is to build on Master Duel. But you could definitely take this into gold and just steal game after game after game. If you get lucky enough with your coin flips, I mean, this wins the game in any format. If you go first and your opponent doesn't open Ash with this deck, it doesn't matter if they're playing Sprite or the most powerful deck in Diamond, Tier Limit, Cash Tira, anything, nothing beats this. Rhongomyniad is unbeatable, except for I think there's one trap, like Ixion Core, that can beat it. But no one's playing that. And if it gets to the point where we have to side that, they'll probably just ban Rhongo. Either way, it was a fun time. It was interesting learning how to do this and figuring out the combos. And I want to thank //X once again for suggesting this, because I probably wouldn't have looked at it otherwise. Chat, do you have anything interesting you want to add? Any more heroic things? Do you feel like a hero now that we've summoned Rhongo 900 times? I feel like the villain, actually. I don't feel like a heroic champion at all. Rhongo is overrated. Hard to say, hard to leg. Either way, thank you all for coming. Remember to subscribe if you want to see more Let's Builds. Check out The Ladder Climb. I stream on Twitch. There's a Patreon. There's so many things you could do. I've got Critter. Critter says hello. He's been here the whole time, watching, waiting, observing, judging you and determining if you are the hero and the villain. And what's his verdict? You heard it here, folks. Very powerful words from a very powerful creature. Anyway, get out of here. I don't have anything else. Why? Go. I'm done.